literally never even heard of that.
I know, it's so weird. Hello, Libronauts. Sorry we're late. We were being some chatty Cathy's a little bit. Um, but welcome to the live show for our discussion for the October book pick, which was The Sun Tomorrow by Emma Straub, selected by my lovely co-host, Summer of Seasons. Summer, say hi, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Summer from Seasons Readings, both on YouTube and Instagram. I love sci-fi. I haven't really had a reason to really purposefully choose to read sci-fi in a little bit, so I was so excited when you asked me to be a co-host. But I love sci-fi, fantasy, romance, horror, a little bit of everything. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, of course, for joining me this month. It was very nice to have you read this book with me, and I'm so excited for this discussion because, to be honest, I knew this book was sci-fi or somehow related to the sci-fi genre, but I didn't realize how sci-fi it really was.
Yeah, same.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Me too.
All right. So for those that are watching, let us know in the comments if you read the book, what you rated it. And yeah, we'll just get into the discussion. So Summer, have you read by this author before?
I haven't, but I've seen their books before. Like when I was first getting into reading and stuff, I think back in 2016, they had Emma Straub had a book called The Vacationers, I think. And it's a bright blue water illustrated cover with some people floating or swimming or something.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that at Target whenever I would go, and I kept really liking the cover, but whenever I read the synopsis, I was like, I don't think I want to read that. And that's how I feel about most of her books is I love the covers, and then when I read the synopsis, I'm like, I don't really want to read it. So this is the only book that I've read from her, and I kind of was looking at reviews and stuff, and this is her highest rated and most read book, and her other ones don't have very good ratings. So I kind of feel like this might be the only one for now that I try from her, but yeah, I don't know. That's my experience with her.
Oh, well, I mean, kind of a bummer because after reading this, I do kind of want to read more from her.
Yeah.
But if you've already read the best, I don't know.
I know, that's what it's so stressful. It's like reading their newest release. You never know because their writing just gets so much better most of the time. So it's hard to backtrack.
Yeah. And I wonder too, so in any of these synopses that you've looked at, does she dabble with sci-fi in her other ones, or are they mostly rom-coms or?
No, they're more literary fiction.
Oh, okay.
And kind of family drama kind of stuff is what some of it sounds like. There's a little bit of one of her books sounds like it has a tiny bit of a thriller aspect to it. But yeah, I don't know. It's really funny that she went from just literary fiction and jumped to sci-fi.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I'd be interested to read the thriller, I think. That would kind of be because I really liked her writing style. I feel like it hooked me really well and kept me interested. And when I find that in an author, I usually latch onto them.
Oh, totally. Yeah. A good writing style makes all the difference.
It
And
does.
I appreciated how she did pop culture references because sometimes I hate that in books, but I feel like she did it really well where it was really balanced and it added to the story rather than pulling me out of it.
Yeah.
So I also liked that.
All right. So, obviously this book is about time travel, but I guess what specifically, and you can go into spoilery details, that's fine. What specifically made this book so sci-fi? How does it fit into the genre?
I think, I mean, obviously, with the time travel, the main character, I already forgot her name. What's her name?
Oh gosh.
Alice.
Alice, yes. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
I just read this.
I literally only read it a few days ago, and I'm already a lot of the time when I read a book, even if I love it, I lose all the details a lot of the time. Yeah. But so the main character, Alice, she time travels. And I think it's interesting how in this one you only time travel back to a certain day. But I think also it's kind of fun having her dad. He was a sci-fi author, and I kind of liked that side of it, and seeing her and her friends go to the sci-fi convention that he was at.
Yeah.
So I liked that her doing the time traveling wasn't the only aspect. It was, like, the conversation she was having with her dad and,
Mhm,
like, learning about his book and stuff that he wrote in the TV show. So I thought
mhm,
that was kinda fun.
mhm.
But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they mentioned so many magical realism, but also sci-fi. Like they mentioned like Back to the Future and
Mhm.
13 Going on 30
Mhm.
and oh my gosh, like so many so many other ones. Like I honestly should
Mhm.
have written them all down every time I came across them, but I was just I was sucked in, so I was just like flipping the pages.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, the convention that they kinda crashed, that was, I think, kinda my favorite part, honestly, every
I
time.
really liked it.
Yeah, and, like, his
Mhm.
friends, just the discussions that they had, um
Mhm.
and Alice, she was kinda picking their brains a little bit without them really knowing why, of, like,
Mhm.
"What is time travel? Like, what's happening to me? Like,
Mhm.
explain this to me."
I thought that was really interesting because they talk about all of the different, like, types of,
Mhm.
like, is it the multiverse? Is it a wormhole? Like, all of the different ways that it can happen.
Yeah.
It kind of, like, was hurting my brain a little bit because like, time travel is, like, so broad, and it's like,
Mhm.
is it the butterfly effect where things change? Or is it, like, you just go back and you're like a fly on the wall and you're just experiencing it? There's so many different ways you can do time travel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really loved that conversation where she was like they're just geeking out about time travel, but she's, like, trying to take, like, mental notes of, like, what to do.
Oh my gosh, yeah, God. I didn't even think of, did they mention the butterfly effect, or did you just pull that comparison?
Uh, I'm not sure, and I'm not the movie because I actually haven't seen that. Is that a
No.
movie?
It
I was
is,
just okay.
and there
I
is
was just
time
thinking of,
travel
like,
involved in it.
is there? Because that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
I a lot of the time know, like, I associate the butterfly effect, like, just the term with, like, the Mandela effect and stuff, so
Yeah,
that's kind of I was just where I was going with that, but I've heard
gotcha.
really good things about that movie, though, so I need to watch it.
It's really good. It's pretty intense, but it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like a good intense movie every once in a while.
And it's, um I just wanna make sure I'm not, like, jumping the gun. I can't remember what we're gonna talk about when. Okay, I guess we can talk about it now, so that's perfect. So as we mentioned, they talked about different types of time travel and the different ways that different books and movies and everything like that, how they kinda create their own idea of what time travel is. Um, and we like, what's the movie? I always forget the movie, Interstellar, I think, with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, mhm.
There's kind of, is that technically a wormhole, or have you seen that movie?
I haven't, but I know the movie, like, I think I've been spoiled for it, and I'm pretty
Okay,
sure it's like a wormhole.
okay. Like,
Also, I think that your mic is doing something kinda weird. I don't know if it's just on my end, but it's almost sounding like you're like a robot or something.
"Oh, no." Is it still like it right now?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay,
Maybe try, like, turning it off or, like, switching the mic, like, where it's coming from.
okay, okay, bear with me.
Oh, Tori says that you sound normal, so maybe it's just me.
Okay. Oh, you said okay,
It might just be me because Tori in the comments said that you sound normal, so maybe it's just on my end. So
okay. Thank you,
just
Tori.
keep going. Yeah, thank you.
Um, could be
Mm,
StreamYard acting dumb, yeah.
yeah.
Plus, too, I have noticed that if I'm trying to go live and, like, there's 2 or 3 other TVs in my house streaming something, which there are currently, my
Oh,
internet connection is a little shaky, um, so I don't know, but
that might be what's happening on
okay.
my end potentially. So I'm gonna turn my Wi-Fi on my phone off. My husband's playing games right now, so that might be. I think he's on the internet. Anyway,
Oh,
though, I can still tell what you're saying though, so you should just keep going.
okay, perfect. But thank you again, Tori, and yeah, if you guys in the chat hear me sounding weird, just let me know. I'll try to fix it. Um, so yeah, all the different types of time travel. And I think so, yeah, in Interstellar, isn't it like wherever he went, his time moved just so much slower than time on Earth or something like that? But then there's the time travel of like the time traveler's wife, where it's a
Oh.
genetic anomaly and it happens to him randomly and he
Mhm.
can't control it. He can't control where he goes or how long he stays. Um, and that is like my favorite book of all time, FYI.
Is it? See, I
Yeah.
haven't read it and I haven't watched any of the adaptations, so I need to.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the movie does really, really well of sticking to the book. I've not seen the show. Oh my
Mm.
god. Oh my gosh. There's a child in here as well. 'Cause I saw in the camera, I was like, "That was not my dog. What what's happening?" Um, oh, anyways, and then, Hot Tub Time Machine, they're
I
like,
haven't seen that.
"In summer."
I'm learning I haven't watched any of the time travel shows or movies.
Oh my gosh. That one's like it's not super serious, it's really kinda funny,
I
and
love that though.
it's pretty good.
Mhm.
Okay. 1 second, let me sorry about that. He's still trying to
Mom
get
kitty.
used to so for anyone watching, that's Atlas, my husky. We just adopted him on Friday. And so my youngest, he's still kinda getting used to him and, because he gets excited and he likes to jump up, and so my youngest, he kinda, like, freaks out. He's like, "Ah," and then it makes him think that he's trying to play with him, so Atlas gets more excited.
Mm.
And I'm just like, "Buddy, just calm down, it's fine." Oh my god.
Oh, such a
Okay.
puppy phase.
Yes, very that's why
Yeah.
yeah, because initially when I saw his picture at the Humane Society, they were like, "Oh, he's 2." And then when I got there, they're like, "We think he's probably more like 1 because he
Uh-huh.
acts very, very puppy-like and his little teeth are still really sharp," and
Mm.
so anyways, oh boy, this is turning into a chaotic life. Sorry about that.
I wanted to add on to the time travel thing though. One of my other favorite, like, time travel movies is About Time.
Is
I
that
love
with Rachel
that
McAdams?
one. Yeah.
Okay,
She's been in, like, in a couple of time
yeah.
travel
Yes,
movies.
yes.
Yeah, but I love that one, and it's kind of also like a genetic thing, it's passed down, like, through the men in the family,
Yep,
and they can choose to go back and change certain things and do certain things over.
mhm,
And I feel like that one is really similar to this book because it does have the kind of, like, father aspect to it.
yeah.
Um, this book mainly reminded me of 13 Going on 30, though.
Really?
Yeah, and I love that movie, it's so good. The whole
Yeah,
entire time I was reading this, I was like, "I need to watch that movie again because 'cause
yeah,
it's been a long time."
yeah. And they did mention it a few times too, which is,
Yeah.
like, perfect. I got really excited, like, that's one of my favorite movies, like, out of an
Mhm.
assortment of, like, 10 probably, that's like, if I had to take 10 movies to a deserted island and somehow I had a way to
Oh,
watch
yeah. I
that would
kept having, like, Love Is a Battlefield, like, playing in my head, and
Yes!
her and, like, the 30, flirty, and thriving, and, like
Yes, yep,
Mhm.
for sure. So what are some other I've never seen Outlander or read it, so I don't know what I know. I don't know what that
Please,
whole
you
thing is
need
about,
to.
but
Uh-huh.
they mentioned that a little bit too, or at least they said something about, like, a time traveling Scotsman or something like that.
Yeah, I think I caught that too.
Yeah.
That's a really good one, and that's, like, she has to come into contact with something, and
Mhm,
then it will take her back.
mhm,
That's such a good one, like,
yep,
I've only read the 1st book, and I think I've only watched, like, maybe the first, like, 3 or 4 seasons.
mhm.
but it's a good one. Like,
Okay.
that's just, like, one of the, like you have to it's a classic at this point, you have to watch it.
How many seasons are there? Is the show done?
I don't know, I think they might be on, like, their 6th season or something.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure, I kinda stopped watching it after a minute. I need to pick it back up because I do really enjoy it, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not totally caught up anymore,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
yeah.
Let's see what else. And obviously Back to the Future, there's like the whole car and physics and that
Mhm.
whole concept. So, gosh, yeah, time travel, it's such an interesting thing to read about, and it's like no two forms of like media, whether it's books, movies, like I haven't seen it be identical the way that they talk
Yeah,
time travel. So it's kind of fun.
totally. I love when it kinda does, like, I don't remember if this has time travel in it, but did you watch, like, the Loki season?
Mm.
Okay, because that's kind of like multiverse kinda stuff,
Okay.
and, I kinda like it. Like, I think that that kinda stuff is interesting. It also hurts my brain, though. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot that you have to keep track of for stuff like that, but I just think you're so right. There's so many different ways that you can do it, and I feel like I also haven't seen it done the same twice, you know?
Yeah.
It's a fun trope. I love it.
Yes, for sure. I'm trying to think of other time traveling books that I've read that I could recommend, but I think The Time Traveler's Wife and Kindred by Octavia Butler, I think are probably the only ones.
Oh, mhm.
And
Yeah,
that one is also, I don't know if it's like genetic anomaly or just like a weird thing that happens, but that one is also she is kind of thrust back in time involuntarily.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it's to, like, one of her ancestors, right?
Yeah, like on a plantation, and she
Yeah,
herself is a Black woman, so it's like it talks about a lot of different major themes. So,
mhm.
I thought that one was really good. So, if anyone is
Yeah.
interested in another time travel book, that would be a good one to read.
Yeah, I don't think I've read any other ones except for Outlander. I
Yeah.
probably haven't, I'm just forgetting, but
Alright,
yeah.
so, oops, hang on, there's a comment. Hi, Lena. Oops.
Lena!
I said hi, and I didn't even put her comment up, sorry. Told you, I said to Summer, in the offstage area that October seems so long because I, like, forgot the books that I read at the beginning of the month, and I forgot how to use StreamYard apparently.
I think
Um
you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. But hello, Lena. Didn't read the book, but wanted to say hi. Thank you for stopping by. Much appreciated. Alrighty. So, if you had this ability or access to this type of thing, whatever, because it doesn't really explain. I almost wonder if it is genetic because her dad can do it too, or
Yeah,
maybe
I think that they maybe said something about it that, actually, I don't know, know because I wanna say that he said something about the neighbor being able to do it too.
oh.
Because you know how it has to do with them going to the shed?
Mhm.
I want it because it's kind of a community shed, right?
Okay, so it's
I
not
wanna say
necessarily
that's
them, it's this place, like there's a portal of some kind.
I think it might be, but I also kind of remember
Dog
him
hair,
maybe
sorry.
saying relatable.
Oh,
I can't, like, fully remember, but I do know that it was he said something about, like, the neighbor being able to do it,
okay.
like, one of the female neighbors that lived next to the house, but I also might remember, like, him saying something about, like, his dad being able to do it too or something, I don't fully remember.
Hmm.
I don't know. I yeah.
I mean, now that you say it about the neighbor, I vaguely remember that. I don't remember the
Mhm.
details, and I just read this book on Saturday, so if that tells you anything about my retention.
I
Um,
never remember anything,
yeah.
so right
Uh,
after I finish a book, especially if it's an audiobook, a lot of the time it's, like,
yeah,
in one ear out the other almost, even if I, like, love it, so,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So if you had this ability, I know you wouldn't have control over which day or moment of your life that you revisited, but ideally, what moment of your life would you love to revisit if you could?
Um, there's, like, a lot because throughout this book was so thought-provoking because I really was putting myself, like, in her shoes. I was like, "What would I go back and change? What would I go back to?" So I had a lot of fun, like, just thinking about it.
Mhm.
Um, and I think kinda similar to her, I think I would go back to high school.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, um, I honestly would probably go back and just with, like, my knowledge of what I have now about, like, that I should have been more confident in myself and I
Mhm.
should have put myself out there more, and I shouldn't have been so afraid of, like, what people thought of me. Like, I just think that I could have enjoyed my high school experience and stuff a lot more if I would have had that mindset, so I think that's mainly what I would go back and do is just try to, like, let loose a little bit more, just, like, not be so uptight all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
Definitely, I mean, if I could, like, redo high school, not just one day, but knowing
Mhm.
what I know now, yeah, for sure,
Mhm.
that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, one day or one moment, I think for me, probably, like which okay, this sounds crazy, but, like, when my children were itty bitty.
Oh, uh-huh.
So which unfortunately, like, then there's 2 different points in my life because when
Uh-huh.
first and the second. But I say it's kinda crazy because I was so scared, more so with my first. I was like, "There's, this creature. I made it, and now I have to keep it alive." And, like,
Mhm.
any number of things could happen that changes that, but at the same time, it's just, like, those are some of my most vivid memories, or at least not so much, like, the memory itself, but, like, the feeling I had at that time. And,
Mhm.
like, just I don't know, trying to soak it all in and just the little noises that they make, and I don't know, like, interestingly, it doesn't make me want another baby, I'm like, "I'm good." But just going back to them when they were babies,
Yeah.
I think would be yeah, so
You're making me wanna have a baby. Like, okay. I'm already Gwen and Lena and Jordan and Jesse, I think this might be like a Utah-ism, but they
Mhm.
say, like, "baby hungry," like, when they wanna have a baby, and they're
Oh,
like,
it's
"You
like
want to eat
baby
a child?" So I've been baby hungry already, and now you're, like,
food.
talking about cute baby moments.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, so cute."
Okay, let me tell you this then. Interrupted nights, so you don't have consistent sleep. They poop all the time. They spit up on you. Doctor's appointments. Does that help?
Yeah, that does a little bit, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh.
But no, babies are cute.
Yeah.
Dum de dum de dum. Okay, there we go. So, how does this time tomorrow address the inevitability of change and loss? So, for this question, I'm a little confused because, and again, for anyone watching, we are talking spoilers. So be forewarned. As many times as Alice went back and like tried to tell her dad, like, you need to take care of yourself, you need to be healthier, he still was sick when she went back to her life as a 40-year-old. He still ended up dying. So it's like nothing she did changed that. Like the most that happened is like he had a life partner and was in hospice care in his home versus at a hospital. But other
Mhm.
than that, like, it didn't change, whereas whether or not she hooked up with Tommy changed, her being married and having children as a 40-year-old. So, that was kind of the only thing that I was kind of like, about, like, that's a pretty drastic change, like, whether or not you have children.
Yeah.
But so why could she change that, but she couldn't change her father getting
Mhm.
sick and passing away? And I know, because didn't he end up telling her that it was, like, the fact that he traveled so much, it, like, wore down his body, and that's kinda what made him sick ultimately?
Yeah, so I think it was, like, she couldn't since she could only go back to her 16th birthday,
Mhm.
he'd been doing the time traveling so long before that, that it had already, like, cemented his fate, basically, I think.
Gotcha.
So, I know, and I think a couple times in the book it says, like, I think it says this in the book, like, talking about how everybody's time comes eventually, it's just a matter of when and stuff,
Mhm.
and, so I didn't want I know this is terrible, but, like, I didn't want her dad to be like, I wanted him to be saved, but also, like, I knew that he couldn't, and
Mhm.
that it would just be better for her to, like, be able to, like, accept it and, like, move past it and grieve.
Yeah.
I did really like that she made it so that he did have a partner and that he was able to, like, be in his home and stuff. And I also just like that she was able to, like, go back and be a little bit more, like, real with him because it kinda sounded like before they didn't really have, like, that, like, super deep of a connection, and she, like, regretted that, and so she was able to go back and have that with him.
Mhm.
Um, I thought that was really special, but, um, yeah, I don't know. Books with, like, grief and loss are, like they're just hard to read, but I thought this one was a really, like, lovely take on it, especially with, the author's note at the end.
Mhm.
Um, I held it together the whole book, and then the author's note, I started crying, so I was like, oh, because she talks about her experience losing her dad and stuff, and, I think you can, like, feel that in the book that it's not just, like, some made up scenario.
Yeah.
It's, like, close to the author.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And didn't she say in the author's note too that she was able to publish it before he passed? So he read it
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
loved it, and he was like, "This is so cool." Like, he was so
Mhm.
proud of her.
Yeah. I think
That's
that's really cool.
yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I was the same, like, I got to the end, and I was like, "Oh, wow, I didn't cry," and then read the author's note, and a tear didn't leave my eye, but they watered pretty good.
Mhm. I, like, only had, like, a couple because I was really trying to hold it in, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very touching. Um, I think there was something else I wanted to say regarding this topic. I did you, while I pull mine up, were there any quotes or anything that kind of resonated with you while you were reading?
I listened to the audiobook, and I remember while I was listening that I was like, "Wow, that's a really good quote. I should highlight that so that I can talk about it on the live," and then I completely forgot. So
Oh,
there were a lot of really good quotes in this one. I just didn't remember to go and find them. But yeah.
no worries. There were 2, I think. I put them in the Discord because I was like, if I write them anywhere else, they're gonna get lost. Um,
Mhm.
okay, so this one, it's on page 112, and I think it was her boss, Melinda, I think.
I
So
think. Yeah.
I think that was her name. But this is when Alice is still in her normal, present life as a 40-year-old. And this is not the full quote, it's just kind of pieces of it. But basically, they're talking about like your life plan and when things like don't go to plan. And Melinda says, like, in terms of a life plan, you don't need one. It's real life. Plans don't work. Just go with it. And I just I don't know, like, that spoke to me because I am gonna be 35 in March, and life didn't turn out how I imagined. Like, I had this grandiose idea of what my life was gonna look like, and it's not at all that. And it's like, instead of getting stuck on feeling bad about that or having regrets, things like that, it's like, it's just let it happen, you know?
Mhm.
Like, I don't know. I really liked that one.
I
Um,
remember that quote now that you read it, and I also resonated with me too. Because
yeah,
yeah, it's like, I feel like you can have, like, little plans, or, like, hopes that you want to happen or things you can work towards, but absolutely, it's like, what's gonna happen is gonna happen, and you just have to, like, do your best to roll with it
yeah,
and to just make peace with it, otherwise you're just gonna be, like, upset about things the whole time.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then the other one, so this one is on page 249. And so this one is relating more to the concept of time traveling and what can or can't be influenced. Um, but I just I saw it as relating to just our lives as well. But all the tiny pieces added together to make a life, but the pieces could always be rearranged. Um, And so, like I said, that is more relating to she would like when Alice would go back to her 16th birthday, she could do things differently throughout that day. You know, she could hook up or not hook up with Tommy, tell her dad or don't tell her dad that she's traveling, that she's time traveling, tell him or don't tell him that he needs to take care of himself. So hopefully it changes something in the present with his health. Um, but ultimately, her life wasn't that different. So I don't know. I'm not explaining it as well as like I'm seeing it in my mind, but just like your life is made up of like all these different pieces and it doesn't matter how you arrange them, like it's still you. It's still your life.
Mhm.
You as a person are not changing. Like her identity didn't change,
Mhm.
you know, when she went back and
Totally.
made different decisions. So yeah, in one aspect, like she's a mom and they're doing really well. I can't remember what her career was, if they ever touched on that when she
I don't
was
remember either, but
married to Tommy, but she worked for that school, Belvedere or something like that,
mhm.
like in her normal life. So if she wasn't a mom, but like ultimately she is the same person. So I don't know.
Mhm. She's still, like, living in the same city, has the same people in her circle, still has a relationship with her dad. I
Mhm.
totally get yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was nervous at that one point when she went back and I'm like, oh no, is like, are she and Sam not friends anymore? Like I got so nervous.
Yeah! I know, I was worried about that.
Yeah. Sam was my
I
favorite
wanna
character.
say I liked Sam a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, you reminded me when you said, like, she could decide whether or not to tell her dad.
Mhm.
I loved that she knew she's like, "I'm afraid to tell my dad because he will believe me." And that
Mhm.
was before she even knew that he had been doing the time travel himself. I loved that he is just that type of a dad, that he was
Yeah.
like, "I'll just roll with it." And I
Mhm.
also loved, that Sam's the best friend, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure just in case.
Yeah.
I loved Sam, and I loved that she was just like, "Alright, this sounds crazy, but you're my bestie, so we're just gonna roll with it."
Yeah.
Like, I love because I hate when people are, like, gaslighting, like, in a book, it just prolongs it. I'm like, "No, let's just believe the people and let the plot keep going." So I
Yeah.
love that this book did that. But,
Mhm.
yeah, I also thought it was interesting, um, I think it was the first time that she came back um, to the present day, and she asks Sam, she's like, "Do you remember my 16th birthday?" And she's like, "Yeah. Do you wanna talk about it?" Like, she's still like, I don't know. I thought that was funny. But I
Yeah.
liked that people believed her and that
Yeah.
it wasn't just, like, gaslighting and stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah, with Sam remembering all those years later, like, that just really
mhm,
showed how good of a friend she was because
mhm,
she took it seriously. It wasn't just something that she's like, "Okay, you're crazy, but yeah, let's go with it."
mhm.
It's like, that
Yeah,
was a time for her, and she, you know, she was into it.
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
everyone needs a bestie
loved.
like Sam, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Alrighty. So we did talk about a few already, but what are some other, and I mean, all the things that I'm thinking of that this book reminded me of are just because that there's time travel in them, honestly. Uh,
Mhm.
but I guess are there any others that we didn't mention that you had thought of or
Yeah, I don't know, I think the main ones I already talked about were 13 going
Mhm.
on 30,
Yeah.
just because it literally is
Mhm.
someone going, like, to their birthday or, like oh, no, she goes from her birthday to being older.
Mhm.
So I guess it's just the
It's like
reverse
a
of 13
swap,
going
yeah.
on 30. Yeah, and then About Time, just because have you seen About Time?
It's been a while, but I have and I loved it.
Okay.
Mhm.
That one, I cry every single time. I cannot help it, like, it's such a good movie. That's, like, in my top 3 probably. I
Yeah.
love that movie. But the time travel, I think it really reminded me of it just because there is, like, the dad relationship in it.
Mhm.
I thought that was just kind of a similar thing. I think I already said that, but yeah,
Mhm.
those 2 for me are the main ones that this book reminded me of.
Um, there was another one, it's a movie, I think it just came out last fall, and something you said we were talking about, like, The Best Friend. I can't
Mhm.
remember what the movie is called, so that's not helpful at all. But it's like
Oh, is it
this
on Netflix? And it has, the blonde actress from
Yeah,
Riverdale?
I
Yeah, I we
yes!
watched that for Was it for X's and O's? I
Um,
remember watching it for a readathon.
I don't remember, but it's like something about two ways or something.
Yeah, you get to see this girl, she's, like, at a party and she takes a pregnancy test, and
Mhm.
she's, like, in high school or something, and you get to see her life if she found out she was pregnant and if she wasn't, and you get to see how her life splits from that moment, and that
Mhm.
was a really good movie. I totally forgot about that one. I'm glad that
Yeah,
you remembered that.
yep. And then
Yeah.
similar to that, there's a book, forgive me, I can't remember the author, but it's called Going by Coastal, and
I wanna read that one, yeah.
yeah. So it's like you're reading this girl's life up to one point, and it's like the point is a summer, and her parents, I don't know if they're already splitting up or what, but like her mom, I think it's her mom lives on the West Coast and her dad lives on the East Coast, and she has to decide who she's gonna stay with for the summer. But you get to see both. Like it's every other chapter. It's her life if she had gone to, I think it's LA with her mom and worked at the company that she worked at. And then also New York City, I'm pretty sure, is where it's at with her dad. And she like works um at a cafe and it's LGBT. So obviously bi-coastal, like it was a play on
Mhm.
words there. So you get to see also her getting interested in a guy and then getting interested in a girl. So it's like you get to see both and it's like I loved it. It was like it was fun.
I love that. Gwen recommended that to me, but I
Mhm.
didn't know that it had, like, a kind of, like, sci-fi element to it with
Mhm.
that. Um, Also, you talking about that made me remember I read a book called, oh my gosh, this is The Book of Doors. I forgot who
Oh,
it's
me
by, but it has
too.
a blue cover. That
Yeah.
one has time travel in it, and I totally forgot.
Really?
It's like it has like it's a portal,
Mhm.
like portal sci-fi. Like you if you have the certain book and you visualize a door and where you want it to take you to, you can reach like you can use any door and imagine the door that you want to go through and it'll take you to it.
Mhm.
But that also works for time. Like you can imagine a door from your childhood and go to that time. And there's kind of towards the end a lot more with like time travel kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And that is like what made the book so good for me. So that's another time travel book that I think is really good. Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when that came out and it's been on my TBR. I haven't read it yet, but I guess I
Yeah.
didn't realize that it had that theme. So now
Yeah.
I need to bump that up on my TBR.
I think you'll really like it. I gave it 5 stars and it has like a little bit of like dark academia like in it as well. And like found family vibes. So yeah, I think you'll
Um,
really like it.
yeah, I think that would be I'm trying to remember. I was trying to look to see if I'd seen stuff on Goodreads and I'm like, you know how when you type something into Goodreads, if you don't type it perfectly, it like won't show up?
The bane of my existence. I'm like, can you please autocorrect a little bit for me or just
I
like assume that
know.
I spelled it wrong?
Maybe it's called Book of Doors, right? Oh, okay. I
Mhm.
was looking for a different cover. It has that cover.
Oh, yeah, that's a different one that I'm used to, yeah,
It is.
but that's a very good one.
That yeah, that's pretty. That must be the UK cover. It has to be. It is. Yep. Um, it's got over 4 stars, um, almost 35,000 ratings. So
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
yeah. There was another one too. 1 second, 1 second. My fiance just got home. I wanted to make sure he didn't like come up here and
Oh,
start
mhm.
getting ready to shower. It's like, hold up, the door's open. Um, but this one I also don't remember the name of. And it's like it takes place on Halloween, and her mom was murdered like years ago or something, and she somehow goes back in time to when her mom was in high school. It's like the 80s, and she has to try to solve
Oh.
when like who her mom's killer was or something like that.
I've never even heard of that. That sounds
Really?
good though, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Oh boy. Okay. But anyways, I think that's Those are probably the only other ones that I can think of. So, all right. So, final thoughts. Overall, what did you think of the book? What did you end up rating it?
I really liked it and I gave it 4 stars. I didn't quite have like the 5-star feelings, but I really enjoyed this. I really liked the writing style, kind of just everything like we said. Pop culture references, the characters, the time travel,
Mhm.
the father-daughter relationship. Really, really liked it and I would definitely recommend it.
Awesome. And I pretty much had the same thoughts. There were a couple times actually that I'm like, is this 5 stars? Maybe. I don't
I
know.
had that too, but like just not quite.
Yep, not quite there. So I'm the same. I rated it 4 stars. Like I said earlier, I loved the writing. I loved the friendship with Sam. I loved her relationship with her dad. And I love how it kind of like for her, like her love for her dad and her connection to him just kind of blossomed that first time that she told him about what was
Mhm.
going on. And I don't know, that was a beautiful moment. So that was one of my favorite
Mhm.
parts of the book,
I
in addition
agree.
to the like sci-fi convention that they went to.
Mhm. Yes. I loved that she said that her favorite part of doing the time travel was telling her dad because
Mhm.
he would light up and be so excited to, like, share something like that with her.
Yep.
So, I also we didn't talk about this, I really liked that Sam gave him the idea to write the other book and the other series,
Yeah.
where he kind of based it on Alice
Mhm.
and, like, her time travel. I thought that was really cool that that's one of the other things that ultimately changed.
Mhm.
Um, so I really liked that aspect too.
Yeah. And I loved how
Mhm.
Sam gave him crap about it, like, "I didn't get
Yeah.
credit for it."
And I love too that she's like, "Oh, don't worry, he offered to pay for my kids' tuition." So
Mhm.
I
Okay,
don't
that's
get royalties, but
yep, yep.
uh-huh.
Alrighty. Well, that is the end of our discussion. Just a heads up to everybody, whether you're watching now or you're watching later, this is the final month for 2024. We do take a break November and December, but we will be back in January. And I did say on the Libronauts Bookstagram that I would give a sneak peek of what our peak January pick is going to be. And it's one of the member picks. So a few weeks ago, I did some polling and whatnot and had people choose what books that they wanted to read, what books they wanted to see as a book pick. So this was one of those books that were selected by the members. And for January, we are going to be reading. Sorry, I'm like building this up. It's just Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir.
I
So
haven't read that one yet, and
you
I
haven't really?
it's so high on my TBR. So I am definitely gonna be reading that to like be part of the live discussion.
Awesome. Yeah, so obviously I've not read this either, and I know a lot of people have, so I was kind of nervous, but because it was selected, I was like, okay, obviously there's a lot of people that also haven't read this. And I'm like, how am I going to find a host that hasn't read it? But I have. So I'm very excited. I will announce her and the February, March book picks and co-hosts probably end of next month. I'll do like a video on YouTube to announce those. So, but yay, I'm glad you'll be joining us. That's exciting.
So fun. Such a good pick, and that's, like, gonna make me read it because a lot of the time I'm like, "I wanna read that so bad," and then I just, like, never, like, actually do it, so now I have a reason to. So excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone that read the book with us. Thank you so much, Summer, for joining me and being my co host. I do have Summer linked in the description. I don't know if the link worked. Like, you know how normally you can actually, it is a link and you can click on it.
Oh, mhm.
It doesn't look like a link in the description in StreamYard, so hopefully that worked. But if not, I'll fix it after the fact. But anyways, if you guys
Yeah,
don't
either
follow
way.
Summer, please do on YouTube and on Instagram. So, and
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
we
you.
will see you guys in January. Bye.
Bye.